kinds that we have seen and which are being investigated today. There are two entries in the state list, entry 33 and entry 34. Entry 33 in the state list relates to sports. Entry 34 in the state list relates to betting and gambling. And there is no other entry either in the concurrent list except for entry 1 in list 3, which deals with the penal code. There is also no specific entry in the union list, which is list 1. But I felt that it was necessary at this juncture, especially in the context of sporting events, which are national and international in character, and in which such practices are taking place, that we need to take a relook as to how we need to address this issue. I was of the prima facie belief, which I indicated last time when I was with you, that I believe that the union government has the power to make a law to deal with unfair practices in respect of national and international events of this nature. But I did not want to move forward till I had an opinion of the Attorney General of India. And I must thank the Attorney General that he, considering the urgency of the matter, gave us an opinion which endorses what I have said. And I would like to share with you parts of that opinion. The Attorney General has said the real purpose, there is no manner of doubt that reading the various terms in entry 33, adjustum generis, namely theatre, cinema, sports, entertainment and amusements, the intention was to confer certain amount of control over places of public resort for the reasons explained by Mr. Krishnachari. Thus, the various expressions used in entry 33 have to be read in the context in which the framers of the Constitution incorporated in entry 33. The real purpose behind introduction of the term sports in entry 44 of the draft Constitution was to enable the states to regulate places where sports are conducted. Therefore, the Attorney General then goes on to opine, in my opinion, dishonest practices like match fixing, spot fixing, are so abhorrent to the concept of sport that they cannot fall within the concept of sports occurring in entry 33. And as explained by the Supreme Court in the Cricket Association of Bengal case, the power to regulate these activities cannot flow from the term sports in entry 33. The Attorney General thereafter goes on to analyze the ambit of entry 34, which deals with betting and gambling. And he opines, in my opinion, dishonest practices like match fixing, spot fixing, do not come within the purview of the terms betting and gambling. Betting and gambling relate to wagering on the result of a sporting event or some events within a sporting event. Depending on whether such wagering is predominantly skill-based or luck-based, it is termed as betting or gambling respectively. And then he goes on to say, I am of the considered opinion that such practices need to be dealt with in a holistic and comprehensive manner, taking into account the various nuances of the practices adopted by various actors as well as different technologies used. Therefore, it would be appropriate if instead of making amendments to the Indian Penal Code, a fresh legislation is enacted to deal with the problem as effectively as possible. So his final answer is that though we can amend the Penal Code and incorporate in it a new offence dealing with dishonest practices in sports, he says it would be much better to have a stand-alone legislation. That is the opinion of the Attorney General of India, and so, as government, we have decided to enact a stand-alone legislation to deal with unfair practices in sports. We cannot, and I repeat, we cannot let down millions of fans out there for whom cricket is a passion, for whom the sport of cricket is almost like a religion. Of course, this law will not apply to cricket alone. It will apply to all sports in which such unfair practices are used for the purposes of changing the outcome of the game or the result in a particular event. We would like the law to be as broad as possible to deal with all kinds of unfair practices in sports. Remember, in the new age of technology, you can use all kinds of methodologies. You can do things with a gesture. You can do things with contact. You can do things with new technologies. The law must be such, and the definition of unfair practices in sports must be such that it must, within its ambit, include all such possibilities through which the outcome not just of the match or of an event, but through which the course of the game can be changed. Remember, you can have a situation in which you win the game, but you win the game with such a small margin that somebody else comes and meets you in the semi-final or the final. And that also can be manipulated. So it is not just changing the outcome of an event, but it is also changing the course of the entire tournament. And we are committed to bring this law as soon as possible. I am very happy that the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, Arun Jaitley, and Rajiv Shukla met me yesterday morning, and I discussed with them the contours of the proposal that we wish to take forward. And I am very glad to say that both of them readily accepted that the only way out for us to deal with this dishonest practice is to have a legislation, a national legislation, a standalone legislation. In fact, Mr. Jaitley went to point out that, in fact, if we were to have states legislate on this subject, it would never work because the nature of the conspiracy is such that it is much beyond states. And in the case of a national event and an international event, the question of the union not having the power to legislate does not arise. We're very happy that the opposition will be on board. I shall also request the Sport Ministry to discuss all these issues with other political parties so that we can resolve this matter as quickly as possible. We have, in the meantime, attempted a draft legislation. It is still in the formative stage, and as and when we complete it in the next few days, we shall give it over to the Sports Ministry and request the Sports Minister then to take into account the views of various stakeholders, including specialists in various sports, to ensure that the legislation actually is an effective means to deal with this particular dishonest practice. Thank you very much.
Retrospective
No, there can be no retrospectivity of laws.
Mr. Sibal, since this relates to crime, it will be linked to the IPC somehow.
No. The Attorney General has specifically said it is a standalone legislation, but obviously the procedure provided will be in accordance with the Code of Criminal Procedure.
So while a new law will definitely be a deterrent, but what about the practices that we see? All these bookies, all these fixers,
All this will be included in the definition of dishonest practices.
no, but they're there in the parties, they keep meeting these people.
Whatever it is, in fact, we have a definition, an all-inclusive definition, which will deal with bookies. It will deal with corporates. It will deal with companies. It will deal with criminals. It will deal with all players in the system, including the players themselves.
But do you expect the BCCI also to be more careful about these players?
Of course, I expect the BCCI to do whatever it can, but I am not here to advise the BCCI.
Sir, do you think sir, here.
हिंदी में हाँ मैं आज इस बात को आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूं कि हमारे अटॉर्नी जनरल साहब ने मुझे अपना ओपिनियन अभी दिया है और उसके मुताबिक उन्होंने ये राय दी है कि ये राज्य सरकारों का एंट्री 33 में कोई हक नहीं है कि ऐसे नेशनल और इंटरनेशनल इवेंट्स के ऊपर वो कानून कोई लागू करे और ना ही इस प्रैक्टिस को बेटिंग और गैम्बलिंग कहलाया जा सकता है जो एंट्री 34 लिस्ट 2 में राज्य सरकार का उनका अपना हक बनता है इसके ऊपर कोई कानून बनाने का। और उन्होंने कहा है कि ऐसा कानून राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर बनेगा और आईपीसी को भी अमेंड करके कराया जा सकता है, लेकिन जब आईपीसी में हम बदलाव लाएंगे तो वो समझते हैं कि इससे बेहतर होगा कि एक स्टैंड अलोन लेजिस्लेशन हो, एक अलग लेजिस्लेशन हो। और वो मानते हैं कि ये जो मैल प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, ये जो डिसऑनेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, ये अगर स्टैंड अलोन कानून लाया जाएगा तो उसी से ही हम कुछ सुझाव ला सकते हैं। और मैंने कल जेटली साहब और राजीव शुक्ला जी मेरे यहाँ आए थे तो उनके साथ भी मैंने चर्चा की और वो भी सहमत हैं कि हमें एक राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर कानून लाने की जरूरत है, उसको लागू करने की जरूरत है और जल्द से जल्द लागू किया जाएगा। उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि ऐसे कोई राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर इवेंट हो या इंटरनेशनल इवेंट हो, अगर राज्य सरकारों को ये हक दिया जाए तो ये कभी लागू होंगे ही नहीं। और पिछले 10 साल से ये प्रक्रिया चल रही है और हम इसी बात पे सोच रहे हैं कि क्या राज्य सरकारों को यह हक है या नहीं, क्या केंद्र सरकार को हक है या नहीं। और मैं समझता हूं कि केंद्र सरकार को ही केवल हक है। और इसी संदर्भ में जैसे ही अटॉर्नी जनरल ने हमें ओपिनियन दिया, हम एक कानून बनाने जा रहे हैं और उसके दायरे में जो डिसऑनेस्ट प्रैक्टिस की डेफिनेशन होगी वो सब पे लागू होगी, चाहे वो कॉर्पोरेटर हो, चाहे वो बुकी हो, चाहे वो क्राउड में बैठा हुआ हो, चाहे वो प्लेयर हो, चाहे वो एंड हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं दैट एनी एक्ट और एनी सिग्नल or any contact of any nature whatsoever, through technology or otherwise, which changes the course of the game or changes the course of the outcome of the game, will be brought under the provisions of dishonest sports practice. वो हमने अभी तो ढांचा हम तैयार कर रहे हैं। 2-4 दिन में जब ढांचा तैयार हो जाएगा, ये हम एक ढांचा बनाकर हम स्पोर्ट्स मंत्रालय को भेजेंगे और वो फिर अपनी कार्रवाई शुरू करेंगे। उसमें आपकी स्टेक होल्डर्स की मीटिंग होगी और उसमें एक्सपर्ट्स आएंगे और फिर तय करेंगे किस तरह का कानून बनना चाहिए। लेकिन इस बात की सहमति अरुण जी ने भी दिखाई कि ये जल्द से जल्द हमें पास करना है और अरुण जी को भी हम और बाकी भी जो दल के नेता हैं उनसे भी हम बातचीत करके सभी की सहमति के साथ I am talking about a new legislation that deals with the offence of malpractices in sports. I am not here to comment on BCCI, comment on individuals. Please do not ask me these questions.